I have come to the conclusion the NFC playoffs, they're already set. They are. Now, I'm not going to say that the order is set. Now, I'm not going to say that there won't be a bit of hesitation when picking some teams. But basically, after what we've seen at the quarter mark of this season, you know that 6 of the 7 teams are secure. You know that 6 of the 7 spots are in. One team is going to come out of the NFC South. I don't know who that is just yet. I would be a betting man and put my money on Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers holding on to their own. They're 3-1. Baker has been sufficient. It's not enough to guarantee that he is the long-term answer at quarterback, but we've seen the last few years where somebody leaves their franchise. They go to a new home, and they end up being something. Ryan Tannehill with the Tennessee Titans, he became something. Geno Smith didn't write back last year to the haters. He became something. Maybe that's what you have with Baker Mayfield down in the likes of Tampa Bay. Or I guess it would be Tampa Baker would be a right one. That was such a bad pun. But the other 5 teams are secure. And then that one last spot, that's where you wonder. And there's going to be a few teams in the running. I think personally, if Atlanta doesn't shoot itself in the foot and they find a way to get competent quarterback play, they're a team to watch for. New Orleans, that defense is still really good. And I look at the offense. If Derek Carr can be Derek Carr, I think they have a shot. The Rams, you get back a healthy Cooper Kupp, they'll be in the running. The Green Bay Packers, kind of same thing. Washington Commanders, they're right there. They can beat up on bad teams. They can't beat up on good teams. But 5 teams have automatically, in my opinion, punched their ticket into the NFC title or the NFC playoffs. That's my way of looking at it. Philadelphia, Dallas, Detroit, San Francisco, Seattle. All 5 of those teams will end up playing in January football, bearing a major injury. Like if Detroit loses Jared Goff, all bets are off. 100%. Because I'm not trusting Teddy Bridgewater. If San Francisco has to trust Sam Darnold to get the job done, I'm not guaranteeing that the bye will happen and that the playoffs will go through Santa Clara. Not doing that. Dallas loses Dak Prescott, season's over. You can just go ahead and call that a day. But those 5 teams, guarantee you, are going to be in the playoffs come early January. Now, how would I rank these 5 teams right now based on what we've seen so far? I think it's a very simple concept. You have your 2 leading contenders. They can win a Super Bowl. Season were to end today, you would have no doubts that one of these 2 would be hoisting up the Lombardi Trophy. Then you have the 3 teams that can win playoff games, but you still have some questions about their overall status. Number 5 for me right now is Seattle. And I get it. Seattle won the head-to-head matchup against Detroit. That's understandable. But Seattle has belief. They have an identity. And they're not even playing at full strength. And yet here they are finding ways not to shoot themselves. They're finding ways to stay the course and make a lot of highlight moves. Geno Smith, not a great quarterback. Not a terrible quarterback. He's, I would say, above average. He falls in that like Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff category. And when you have weapons like Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Jack Smith-Njigba, maybe a balanced run game between Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, plus you get back both of your offensive tackles in Abe Lucas and Charles Cross, you might end up being something. And this defense is making plays, guys. I hate to break it to you. Yeah, you are seeing a more veteran seasoned Bobby Wagner. He's not the best linebacker in the NFL, but he did get 2 sacks against the New York Giants. Maybe he'll get 2 more against another team or 4 more throughout the regular season. So he'll get 6 sacks on the year. Good for him. Jordan Brooks, looking better and better every day. The secondary, it's making plays. You get a Reek Wallen on the outside. Devon Witherspoon. He just had the game of his life, and now you can make the argument he's the front runner in the race for the NL Defensive Rookie of the Year. Plus, you also have a solid defensive line, not elite, but solid, and you have decent safety play led by Quandre Diggs. They can beat up on bad teams, and they can hold their own against good teams. The Dallases of the world, the Detroits of the world, Green Bays of the world, they can easily win those games. They can lose them, but they also can win them. Number 4 for me is Dallas right now. And the reason I put Dallas at 4 is not because I'm trying to be a hater on Jerry Jones, not because I think that Jerry Jones is wrong. It's because of I got to see more. You can't lose to Arizona. And I get it. Arizona is very pesky. They're going to find a way to keep pace in the first half before falling apart in the second. I get all that. I completely understand where you're coming from. But when this defense is clicking, it could be the best in the NFL. Micah Parsons, one of the best pass rushers in the league. You have Leighton Vander Esch. Guy's a stud when it comes to making open field tackles. And he's not really great when it comes to everything else, but from an open field tackle standpoint, guy's pretty damn good. Secondary, you're finding ways not to negate big-time plays with Trayvon Diggs out for the year with a torn ACL. Stephon Gilmore had a very good game this past week. Can he build off of that? Your safety play, pretty strong. And you dial up blitzes led by Dan Quinn that makes you one of the more veteran, dangerous defenses in the league. Passing attack, if you have a formula that doesn't allow Dak Prescott to turn the ball over, you'll be fine. Because you got Brandon Cooks, you got CeeDee Lamb, you got Michael Gallup. All of them can make plays. In the red zone, I think you can trust Jake Ferguson at tight end. I think you like what you have in Luke Schoonmaker, the second-round pick out of Michigan. And the rushing attack is sufficient. It's not elite, but it's sufficient, led by Tony Pollard. Offensive line plays good. And as long as you don't shoot yourself with mind-numbing, dumb stuff in the red zone, you'll be good. But you also lost so far to a team that is probably going to get 3 wins or fewer. Number 3 for me is Detroit. Did you know that the Detroit right now, Detroit is actually one of the better defenses in the NFL? I found that shocking when I was looking up the information. From a scoring standpoint alone, Detroit ranks top 5. They are currently allowing only 21 points per game. My bad, they're not top 5 top 5 in total yards. My apologies, not in scoring. They've only allowed 280 points per game, yards per game. Dallas is better, Cleveland is better, Baltimore is better. That's it. So right now, you actually have a better defense than San Francisco. We all know that that's not going to happen down the stretch, but you are better. Offensively, they have an identity. They buy in and they build in on what you have with what Dan Campbell is implementing, and it works. Averaging over 380 yards per game. You're also scoring 26.5 points per game. You're top 10 in passing. You're top 10 in rushing. That's a big deal. Basically, you took what you had last year. You let go of DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. You get a younger, healthier version in David Montgomery. And if you actually know how to utilize Jahmyr Gibbs properly, that's a stud for you. Detroit has an identity. They have a culture and they have a belief system led by Dan Campbell that's not only going to win them the division, but it maybe will help them pull off an upset victory against one of those teams that we all are automatically saying they're going all the way to the NFC Championship. Maybe it happens. I don't know if it will, but it could. Number 2 for me is Philadelphia. Philadelphia has the best shot at moving up to number 1. Dallas, I think, can get all the way up to number 2. I think Detroit can get up to number 2. I think Seattle can get up to number 3. Philly can get up to number 1. If Brian Johnson and the play calling and the offensive execution starts actually finding a rhythm and a decent pattern, watch out. If Sean Donasi is able to find a way to keep this defense afloat with what you have with guys like Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter and Hassan Reddick, they can find a way to continue to pressure in the backfield. Watch out. This is a team with 2 new coordinators that are implementing different systems than what Jonathan Gannon ran and what Shane Steichen ran. So you know that there's going to be a little bit of a drop-off right now. But when you have that good of an offensive line, it's hard to beat. When you have a rushing attack that can actually run the football in the open field like DeAndre Swift has, watch out. Jalen Hurts, still going to be an MVP caliber candidate. Guy last year probably would have won the Super Bowl if James Bradbury doesn't get called for a holding against Kansas City. And he actually had just as good as numbers as Patrick Mahomes. So if he continues to build off that with A.J. Brown, with Slim Reaper Devonta Smith, with even a Dallas Goedert in the mix, yeah, they're probably really good. And then you have the San Francisco 49ers. And basically, you should not be this good in the offseason. Like, you should be regressing when you're a great team because you can't afford to keep everybody. Well, they can, because they added in Javon Kinlaw and they added in a long-term extension to Nick Bosa, and the defense still is top 10 in almost every metric. Meanwhile, Brock Purdy just completed 95% of his passes against the Arizona Cardinals. And I get it. It's Arizona. They're a dumpster fire. They're not really that good. But 95% of your passes, no matter what, is really impressive. And it's basically a perfect passer rating. The guy is making a lot of plays. And he has weapons from Brandon Ayuk to Deebo Samuel to Offensive Player of the Year, Christian McCaffrey, not to mention George Kittle that we haven't brought up. The offensive line looks a lot better. And you have one of the best schemers in Kyle Shanahan in the NFL. They are currently the team to beat. And Jerry Jones, you aren't wrong. The NFC runs through San Francisco at the moment. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that video. Don't hit the X button yet. Make sure you hit subscribe to keep up with all of our daily content found on Just Saying It and anything else that we post on this channel. Bye.